to the Joyosity podcast and our new season. And I am so glad that you are joining us. Whether you are a seasoned leader or you're just starting out, you belong in the Joyosity community. Here's what we're doing. If you're new to Joyosity, we base our work on these three bedrock beliefs. One, that true leadership requires more than just surface level strategies. It requires a profound connection to everything that makes us human. And two, genuine curiosity. Using genuine curiosity, we can create positive culture with complex people because those complex people are all the things that we have to work with. And number three, that joy is the heartbeat of a healthy leader and a healthy organization. So we're putting joy and fun and play at the center of our work. So every week on Joyosity, we bring you dynamic conversations with experts and leaders, and we're sharing more than just a couple tips. We really want to build a movement with you based on hard-won wisdom, real-life experiences, and leading research. And if you're joining us live, make sure you join us in the comments and say hi and tell us where you're coming in from. So thank you for being here. Shelby, others, I'm so glad that you are tuning in. So if you're new to me, I'm Jen Whitmer, international speaker, leadership consultant, and all around joy bringer. And I'm hosting you and guiding us along. And together we're going to move from ideas to action, really embracing those challenges that come with leading in an ever-changing world. So I want you to be ready for that. I can use this right now kind of tool and the gasp and gut punch, deep insight that will transform you as a person and your life as a leader. So get yourself ready, grab your multiple beverages. You know that I always have them going on, and maybe some Post-it notes so you can capture that quote that you want to come back to. Are you ready? Let's go. So 7 years ago was the summer of crying on couches that ultimately led to joy at work. So I heard, I'm eliminating your position. And as I sat on that white couch across from my leader and an outside consultant, those words slapped me in the face. I was a member of a leadership team in an organization of about 50 people. So this act wasn't corporate economics. It wasn't this economic decision. It was personal, it was vindictive, and it was all about power. The previous couple of years had been this really slow, insidious, almost imperceptible decline from a place of joy and connection and high performance and meaningful work into gossip and triangulated communication, internal politics, and sheer exhaustion. And unfortunately, I feel like some of you have been there. And statistically, you have been. When I was in this experience, I said things like, it's fine, it's not that bad. Ever experienced that? It's fine, it's not that bad. I also thought, don't be weak. Just do your job. Don't get emotional about it. Ever said that? And why can't I do this? What is wrong with me? Why is this so hard? I was externally exhausted and stressed, and I was struggling to figure out just how to survive the day. It was costing me so much. It was costing me friendships. It was costing me time with my kids. It was costing actual dollars and my health. It wasn't this super fast thing. If you've ever been in this environment, you know that it's not like one day there's a switch. It's not like a cyanide capsule of intense pain and poison, and it quickly ends. It's this steady ingestion over time of gaslighting, ever-changing priorities, and blame and shame that was so incremental, I didn't realize it was toxic. And so I'm wondering, do you recognize any of this in your past, or maybe even in your present? And here's what I did next. So summer of crying on couches, I sat on my gray couch and I bawled. It was that ugly cry that leaves you looking like you've been in a cage fight. The puffy one. And if you had that moment where you've done it in the shower, you do it in the car before you go inside. And so sitting on this couch, and after swimming in this poison for so long, I I genuinely believed in that moment I was a horrible person and completely unfit to lead anything. How could I even parent my kids if I'm this inept and incompetent? And this story was all that I could hear. It was all it filled my entire perspective. Joy at work in that moment, that was a fairy tale. I buried my head in the cushion and was just like, I I cannot keep this up. I'm dying. And when I said that, that really that whimpered truth was a turning point. And I decided these three things. One, it doesn't have to be this way. I had experienced and led a healthy, flourishing, positive culture that was characterized by success, was characterized by joy, and so I knew it was more than just possible. I knew that I could do that. I'd done it before. So two, I can't be like anyone else. See, the story that kept coming from this leader was that you needed to be somebody else. Not I needed to change a skill. I had to be somebody different. And I have to accept and learn how to work with all of who I am. My strengths, my weaknesses, my power and my limitations. I had to do that. And number 3, I refused to sacrifice the other parts of my life. I'd given up my agency. I'd given up so much more for a leader and a place that was never really concerned for my good. Those decisions, while a turning point, didn't magically take away my problems on a Pegasus. I was still crying on the couch. As much as I want the movie montage, you know what I'm talking about, where you're like, the character makes this decision and then there's like scene, 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 and it all changes and it's miraculously over in 90 seconds. That's not what happened. But those decisions were the beginning of a new story. And that new story led to different actions. And those new actions bring me to helping you right now on this live, on this podcast, and as a speaker for and consultant for organizations. Because the middle of the story was because of the summer of crying on couches, I knew I needed to understand how we had built that healthy, positive culture. I knew we'd done it. I'd done it before, but I didn't know exactly how or how it fell apart. In that moment on the couch, I just made a decision. I had to go back and figure out how. I needed to know it was repeatable. It was repeatable for myself. It was repeatable in other businesses and organizations. So as a teacher, off to grad school I went because that's what we do. And so I was working through research and best practices that really included communication and culture studies, adult education, teen dynamics. And I also studied the Enneagram personality framework as another aspect of understanding how people work together. So I'd find these best practices that aligned with the healthy culture I'd experienced before. And I'd try to apply them in my new work environment. I'd be like, okay, this is what the research says. Oh, I see that's what we've done before. And all of a sudden, my stomach would sink. And sometimes my heart would race, or I'd feel like the nape of my neck get all tingly and goosebumps down my arm. And I would be like, what is happening to me? I know what to do. Why is this still a problem? If you've experienced that before, I wonder if you know that. If you know that feeling of, this should work, why is it not working? And the reason is because information isn't transformation. Information isn't transformation. I couldn't study and research my way out. I had to, in order to lead, I had to heal. I had to find my joy again. So, how many times have you had that experience? Like, oh, this is it. We'll just adopt a new program. Maybe you've been the decision maker in that, or you have been the receiver of the new initiative. Well, we're just going to fix it with a new process. And then after a while, all the same problems arise again. Or maybe you leave one place and you go someplace else. Jessica, Shelby, Lauren, Do you know that experience? And after a while, these same problems keep coming back up. It's because when that happens, it's because we didn't take the time to think about the people. There's a system that we work within in organizations, and it's a system that I believe is unhealthy. And it's a system that says profits are more important than people. And that is slowly destroying our workplaces, our families, and our communities. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, profits are important. You cannot sustain a business without profit. But every bit of research, as I'm working on the book, as I am working through studying joy at work, every piece of research shows us that people-centered, positive cultures outperform in profits than other organizational cultures. The results of dysfunctional, unhealthy, and toxic workplaces that lack joy are costly. In my experience, it literally cost me dollars because I had to find out how to solve a knee issue that wouldn't go away, that nobody could figure out why. So MRIs and tests and all of that was because of the stress and anxiety at work. So a key indicator of poor workplace culture is work-related stress and anxiety. Now, there always will be a level of difficulty and discomfort and friction. That we're not going to get away from that. But the higher levels of stress will follow us. Yeah, Shelby, you're like, oh, some of these things follow me because I haven't figured out what's happening. I have to solve that problem. So when these key indicators of stress and anxiety get really high, so right now, the latest research from 2023 shows that 83% of US workers suffer from workplace stress and anxiety. And here's what that looks like. You're rewriting and rewriting and rewriting the email so you don't make anybody angry. I just got to make it all smooth. Or you are like, oh, 3:06 a.m., wondering, did I put that in the project plan? Did I get it into this place? Or you're answering messages on PTO while you're waiting in line at an amusement park with your kids because you can't get behind because of what might happen. That's what stress and anxiety look like, because 83% of those 83% of people that are reporting high levels of workplace stress and anxiety, 1 in 4 say it significantly affects their home life. It's following us everywhere because wherever you go, there you are. So another key indicator of lack of joy in the workplace is stress-related or depression-related absenteeism. So it means people are gone because it's too much. In 2018, that it was about 42% of absenteeism was because of work-related stress and depression. In 2023, it jumped to 65%. And it's not just folks who aren't showing up for work. When people don't have joy at work, they still come. You're like, I got to get my paycheck. But the opposite of joy isn't sadness, it's toil. That resigned exhaustion that comes from increased difficulty, lack of connection, and belonging and feelings of worth. Toil is more costly than simple attrition. So if we think about joy at work promotes all the good things we want, toil is what is costing us. It's increased levels of toil that are linked to impaired cognitive function, which means I have a hard time thinking. Diminished memory. I can't remember what we said. A reduced ability to learn. You're like, I have too much in my brain. I cannot take on one new thing. Or it's an inability to engage. I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to be in my corner and do my thing because it's too much to get into other people's stuff. The most sobering fact of these key indicators around lack of joy at work is every year there are 120,000 work-related stress deaths. And it's costing us $190 billion a year in all of the costs associated with those deaths. We are literally dying without joy. We're dying without it. 50 years of research demonstrates that human-centered leadership produces a workplace and cultures and environments that are more productive and profitable. Places that have joy at the center have a 31% increase in productivity. So And when one person in a group is joyful, I love this. If one person in a group is joyful, there is a 25% increase in the group's performance. So if I have joy at work and we're working as a group, just me increases our productivity by 25%. I mean, a 25% increase in productivity is insane. That means for every hour I work, I get an extra 15 minutes. Yeah, over the course of a week, that's an extra 10 hours. 25% increase just by understanding joy at work. Joyful workers are 3.5 more times likely to help other team members, which means you as a leader, they're staying out of the manager's office and out of the gossip grapevine. And for more than the last 24 years of tracking, because here's the thing everybody's like, but what about the money? I know we need the money. I know we do. But 24 years of tracking has shown that companies with joyful, healthy cultures characterized by trust are more profitable and have higher stock market returns. And by 2023, the last time they have gathered the data, those cultures outperformed the rest by nearly 400%. 400%. Joy is the heartbeat of a healthy and profitable organization. And that begins with you. You can't make anybody else joyful. You have to start with yourself. So all the things that we're expecting to do at work, be productive, make profits, solve problems, everything that we want we get there by starting with joy, by having joy as the heartbeat of our organization. All right. So let's switch gears for a minute. So what do you do now? You're like, okay, great, Jen. I have joy. Like, so I know that I want it. I don't have it, but how do you get it? So what do you do as a leader? Or really, I mean, let's be honest, as a human walking through the world, don't you want more joy? I mean, I always want more joy. I've never met anybody when I ask that question, they're like, no, I'm full up on joy. Thanks so much. So here is how we get more joy. There's two things I want to bring to you today. So if you're taking notes, if you're, I'm kind of curious where you are, if you're in the comments, what you think about this, about how we get to joy. So I've got two things for you. First, both healing from a toxic workplace and creating healthy culture with joy requires self leadership. You have to start with yourself. Like I said, you can't push anybody else into joy. You can cultivate environments where joy is possible, but you have to create that with yourself. Remember, 25% more productive when you yourself are joyful. It's a natural contagion. Joy is a natural contagion. So you got to start with you. So this kind of powerful self-leadership is, you have to pair ruthless self-honesty with radical self-compassion. This self-leadership requires you pair ruthless self-honesty with radical self-compassion. And so back to those decisions I made sitting on my gray couch. I can't live with my strength. I can't live without understanding my strengths and my weaknesses, my powers and my limits. I can't do anything with them if I don't know what they are. If I don't know what they are. Yeah, we can't. Shelby's saying we can't push anyone else into joy. As much as I would like to push, believe me, as a joy bringer, I have to sometimes work on not being a joy pusher. So that is one of my weaknesses. If I start to push joy, it's going to deteriorate. So when I work with my clients through the Joyosity Leadership Lab, the Joyosity Retreat, or my leadership groups that I work within inside organizations, we use the Joyosity model to tease apart what are the things that we're doing well. What are we really strong at? Where are the weaknesses? Where do they lie? Because see, people are complex. And it's more than simply knowing I'm good at talking and I'm super bad at spreadsheets. I have to explore things that are deeper than just those types of skills, those technical skills. So in the exploring part of the Joyosity model, we're exploring who you are, your personality, your mindset, the way you tell stories. Next week, we've got Kendra Hall on, and we're talking all about stories, and some of it is about stories and mindset. And the other part of exploring is your values and putting that with the skills that you need to engage with other people. And those skills that you need are what I call people power skills, like emotional intelligence, communication skills, decision making. And many leaders I know have a lot of that together. They're like, I feel like I know myself. I feel like I understand my values. I feel like I've got my own joy. I've got the skills to engage with other people. But what I find a lot when we go through the Joyosity model, building an experience that is sustainable, one that fits your current life and your work, one that uses play to increase joy and productivity, that's where things kind of fall down. So for me, I've got 4 kids. They are 6 years apart from top to bottom. When I had 4 kids that were 6 and under, you can imagine a very different life at dinner. So, I'm standing at the table or I'm, standing at the stove. I've got work that I'm still doing and I've got a husband. That life is very different than today, where I've got 2 kids in college, one about to leave, a teenager who will be here at home who is currently probably still asleep. It's a different it's a different phase. So building an experience that is sustainable means revisiting one that fits your current life right now. And that's where I see a lot of people fall apart. One, because they're not recognizing their current space. And two, it's not connected to what brings them joy. So we can only do so much in our short podcast time. So I've got a Joyosity Explorer map for you to get started. And the map will do 3 things. One, guide you to understanding the deeper purpose of your work. Joy is linked to purpose, and purpose increases productivity. And if you understand your purpose, it increases productivity by about 20% more. So it's going to help you understand the deeper purpose of your work and connect it to joy. 2, it's going to give you clarity on what activities bring you joy, because not everybody loves sitting in a musical like Jen Whitmer does. Some people really, really love a chess match. Some people will sit on the sidelines of the Olympics, that is also Jen Whitmer, and cheer and faint because they saw their favorite Katie Ledecky win again. So what brings you joy is really important. So you get clarity on that and clarity on what drains you. And number 3, we're going to provide a map for next steps to creating joy in your work. So you can get that in the show notes, or you can go to jenwhitmer.com/joyosity-explorer. So grab it in the show notes, or if you're listening live, send me a DM and I will shoot you that link. That's for everybody. I think everybody can use this Joyosity map. Some of you may want more. Maybe you feel like doing this on your own is too much and you want more than just a map. You want the first step toward joy in work and creating those positive outcomes. You want the first step of the GPS turn-by-turn directions with a guide. And this step is not for everybody. But if it is you, if you want more, I have a workshop coming up called the Leadership Lift Workshop. It's a free workshop on Zoom, guiding you through, one, discovering the leadership lift model that moves you from understanding when you are in toil, when you are in languishing, to flourishing in joy and why that matters. We're going to go through the Joyosity Compass. That is an exclusive model that I use to help you assess where you are. And you're going to leave the workshop knowing where you're strong, where you need support, and a plan to address those areas. So if you're listening live, it is Thursday, August 22nd. That's when the workshop is. If you're catching this on the podcast and still in August, you're going to go to jenwhitmer.com/leadership-lift. And that's how you're going to register. So it's a free workshop, but I am limiting the seats. So I know that step might not be for everybody. Everybody can go grab that Joyosity Explorer map, but some of you want a little bit more. So that's step 1. Understanding how to heal and create joy requires your own self-leadership. That's the first step. Step 2 is that you've got to believe a new story. When I spent that summer crying on all the couches, I lived in a story that I was too much. I was too much. I had to be somebody different to be an effective leader, and I was worthless at work. Not only had I lost joy, I hadn't just lost joy, I believed I didn't deserve it. And step 2 is believing a new story. I've come to believe that beyond economics, beyond corporate greed or profits, or that's just the way work is, the root of our lack of joy, the root of it is because we believe we don't deserve it. Without joy, I gave up so much of my agency. I was just like water flowing to the path of least resistance, and giving up so much of my agency left me dry and exhausted. Getting up off the couch and choosing a new story has changed everything. And some people are in the comments saying, "Oh, we need you in this industry. We need you in this industry." Yeah, because people are everywhere believing they don't deserve joy. We've got to get up off the couch and live a new story. Living the story that I deserve joy equips me to use my agency, to use my power and responsibility within my very real limits as a human. Joy isn't just possible, you deserve it. So I just want you to pause for a moment. If you're driving, be careful. Like, don't stop in the middle of the road. But I just want you to pause and dream with me for a moment. If you had joy at work, and if you answer this question in the comments, bonus points. If you had joy at work, if you did the work of creating positive culture by embracing all the complexities of people, the complexities of yourself, what would that life look like? How would you feel when your head hits the pillow at night? What difference would that make for you? What difference would that make for your team, for your workplace, for your family? We can change this story to one where we deserve joy and we can make it possible. So next week, like I said, Kendra Hall, she's a best-selling author, fellow keynote speaker. She's joining us to talk about the power of the story as a leader. And her new book is called The Story Edge. And so we'll be talking about that next week and equipping with leadership skills on story, because without story, you can't change. And we've got to change the story around joy. Creating a life and culture of joy isn't actually an easier way to lead. In fact, it actually feels a little bit harder. So I'm not going to lie to you, but the results of joy at work, more effective team performance, higher levels of engagement, less employee turnover, those follow because we've chosen to see joy at work as more than just a nice to have. It's not even just kind of good for us. Joy is what will save us. That's what will save us. So join us next week with Kendra as we talk about how. And as you use the Joyosity Explorer map, or you are digging into the Leadership Lift workshop, I want to hear about your experiences of joy. Joy is worth it. And joy at work, that's what's going to save us. So let me put my coach hat on for just a moment. Don't just leave this here. Take a moment. What did you learn? What's your next tiny action step? Share this episode with someone and tell them what you're going to do. Check the show notes for all the links and connect with us on LinkedIn and all the other socials, or just, drop me an email at Jen with 2 N's at jenwhitmer.com. We want to keep this conversation going with you. I know your earballs have a lot coming at them, so thank you for listening to the Joyosity podcast and being a part of our community. Please take a moment to rate and subscribe. It helps more people join us in the movement to create positive culture with complex people. So work is a joy, people are whole, and organizations flourish. Can't wait for you to join us next week.